it can go well in a dual lane scenario, but it didn't provide you any disable. And if you have an offlaner that does not provide you any disable, you have to find that on another lane.
Right.
Essentially maybe middle, where you have your Shadow Fiend, but then the overall draft again, it just was the big problem for them.
All right, guys. Well, we have game number 2. We had a little bit of a remake sort of situation, but game number 2 is finally ready to go. We are heading into the draft. So start things off here. The ban out. Leviathan gonna take away the SF. Now, the SF. I was gonna say this early on. Teams ban away like the SF, and I feel like this is gonna come if they don't second ban it. Okay, I'm betting North American Rejects. Wisp +1 pickup in their first 1-2, because as teams adjust to North American Rejects, they seem to ban out SF and Wisp just because it's so strong on the side of North American Rejects. We'll see what happens here. Leviathan, they chose to ban away the SF, keeping that out of the hands of Ush, which I think is perfectly acceptable. But they ban away the Leshrac instead. Leshrac's definitely a high-value core, though, in the current meta. He's been seen a lot in 6.84.
Very true, and especially when you're uncomfortable playing the hero yourself, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have the option to just like let it slide, and you potentially get it yourself.
All right, I got to Leviathan. I was like, you should have banned away the Wisp. That's gonna be North American Rejects 1-2 most likely, just because from what we've seen from them in the past. But they actually do kind of a block pick here. Leviathan take Wisp for themselves. The immediate response to North American Rejects pick up the Queen of Pain and Gyrocopter once again.
The question here now is, how comfortable is Leviathan with the Wisp pick themselves, right? You can't just block pick something, and then if you don't really have a strat that runs around it, like if you're not 100% comfortable in a first big Wisp, you should either ban it or you're comfortable playing against it, right? Mm-hmm. And if that's not the case, this game can be very quick over for the side of Leviathan.
Well, I can say from experience that I know Flying Zebra is a really good support player. I would say that he should be their Wisp player. I think he's the Wisp player, but I'm sure they've got that in their arsenal. But we'll see how it works for them in this game, too. Clockwork is going to be grabbed by them, so they're not going to try and make, how sometimes teams like to be able to run a Wisp with multiple cores that work with the Wisp. I wouldn't say Clockwork is really one of those, but say an offlaner like Bristleback is one of those, can actually get a huge advantage out of the Wisp. And you can actually pop the Wisp around a little bit and not necessarily keep him focused on one hero all the time.
I think it's just very important here for the side of Leviathan to pick that Clockwork or ban it out. Because with a Wisp, he doesn't offer you much at all in terms of laning phase. Sure, Wisp is usually a dual lane hero, but then Clockwork gets more momentum. Right. And we've seen in all previous 3 games now that Clockwork just got too much levels. And MSS showed that he's a solid Clockwork player, right? And I think it's a very good pick here if they're comfortable with it. It's not too hard to play Clockwork. It's usually one of those heroes anyone can kind of perform, because it doesn't take that risky factor onto the offlane, because you can always cockblock and get some experience, right? But of course, excelling on the hero can be difficult, and if they're comfortable again on this kind of opening, I guess it works well for them. But how locked in are they now with the Wisp? What kind of combos are they running with the Wisp, right? A Tiny Wisp, for example, it's very standard, very common, but if you don't run it very often, it can go completely wrong as well.
So Leviathan, I like the Clockwork pick as well, just because it gets them, not only it sets up the relocate really well, right? So you hookshot in, cog somebody, relocate on top. Very simple gank stuff. But also the fact that the Clockwork gives them the one thing that they're missing from last game, hard initiation, right? Not the Spirit Breaker charging into a Puck who's going to phase shift. Now we've got that kind of instant lockdown hookshot. And then potentially the Cogs pushback as well, which is a little bit of extra disable as well. It's something that was just kind of lacking for Leviathan, and I think we both pointed out multiple times that was definitely a big factor in them losing game number 1. Now, North American Rejects are going to go for the Witch Doctor as a response to Leviathan, picking up the Rubik. They love a Rubik.
What I see right now is a scenario that Leviathan could potentially be contested here. Just because you pick two rather weak supports. You have a Rubik as well as a Wisp that on level 1 don't really do that much. So if you don't watch out, you face a Gyrocopter contesting you with having a Witch Doctor on your side. It's quite easy to contest, as well as you have the option to put a Queen of Pain short lane against a Clockwork. If you face these scenarios, you lose 2 lanes automatically.
Oh, yeah. Now, North American Rejects do pick up the Sand King here. Now, Sand King has been run as an off lane quite a number of times, so this doesn't necessarily lock North American Rejects into a greedy 4 position, which means we see a defensive tri-lane most likely, right? Normally, when you run a greedy 4 that likes to jungle, it means you're running a defensive dual lane, and Sand King wants to just full-time jungle until he gets that dagger at mid at 9. But we've seen a lot more off-lane Sand King, along the same vein as off-lane Earthshaker, right? These melee initiators are so important that you're putting them in the off-lane in order to ensure the fact that they're going to be a very critical factor going in past the 20-minute marker, since 6.84 seems very teamfight oriented and very much surrounding that 20 to 40-minute marker.
Definitely. Now with the 4th pickup of Sven here by the side of Leviathan, I see a struggle in terms of how do you catch a Queen of Pain. If the Stormbolt does not hit, sure you have a lift, but a Clockwork at the same time is not that great against the Queen of Pain. You get hooked, you essentially gonna get kited with Sven if the teamfight is not gonna go flawless your way.
Yeah.
And I feel like it gets very critical in terms of how the early momentum of Leviathan builds up, right? Or if Sven does not have a perfect game, it's going to be very difficult to play this game.
Right. It does give them that combination. We're going to see the Wisp. Sven, I do like, the one thing I like about the Sven, though, is it is solid lockdown, solid focus damage onto the Gyrocopter, right? The physical damage to beat up the Gyrocopter, even if he's got BKB going on, you most likely will be able to keep up with the Gyrocopter. I mean, if you're hit by the call down, maybe not, but thanks to the Wisp's extra movement speed, you'll be able to keep up with the Gyrocopter and stay on top of him, even if he does go an S&Y build. I like this Sven in that regard, but you're right. It leaves Queen of Pain potentially a very potent pickup. Now, Spirit Breaker actually going to go the way of North American Rejects as Leviathan took away the offlane Darkseer. NAR actually took away the Viper. I'm looking at it. You need a solid disabler, right, in order to keep the Queen of Pain locked down. You're facing a Spirit Breaker. We saw the success of Puck for North American Rejects in Game 1. Can Leviathan pick this up for their mid?
It's difficult to see right now. All I can see right now out of the side of NAR is how do they lane, right? You most likely see the Queen of Pain middle. That's pretty much a given to me.
Sure.
But it could be still a dual lane scenario where you just put the Witch Doctor as well as the Spirit Breaker on off lane, then you have a Sand King shore lane with a Gyrocopter. In a dual lane scenario, Sand King stun into barrage, Clockwork has to watch out, right? You can of course see the normal tri-lane scenario where a Spirit Breaker goes off lane, or you have a Sand King off lane with a Spirit Breaker as your secondary support. I think most likely it should be the Sand King in the secondary support, just because you want to make use of your jungle and you can rotate, and you don't have to put it into that offlane to make that happen, because you can just stack, right? You stack, you roam around, there's no use in this kind of lineup to put him onto the offlane. But obviously it also comes down to who's the most comfortable player on what hero, right?
Right. Ooh, Tinker actually picked up instead for Leviathan, so perhaps looking at a bit more of a late game. I was expecting the early aggression of Puck, being able to lock down the Queen of Pain. We said that was going to be a potential problem for them, and then also gives a lot of aggression, sets up the Sven, and you go for basically trying to end the game by 35-40 minutes with the advantage you built up. But instead, a Tinker means that we're going to see potentially a lot more turtling in late game, which I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I'm actually a big fan of this hero.
Okay.
I do like Tinker a lot. I just feel like he's often played very the way I like to play Tinker is going early laser rocket, and then you build by 11. You have 3 levels in March with 1 level in the ultimate, right? The rearm. And in a 1-on-1, a Queen of Pain loses to a Tinker that skills rocket laser. Laser essentially destroys Queen of Pain in the laning scenario.
Right.
Obviously, most players don't really enjoy going that kind of, laning, just because you are scared of falling behind in terms of form.
Yeah.
But I've played this hero so much, and I felt like the BOT momentum that you can get with having Laser Rocket in the early phase of the game is just fine. You get BOTs usually by 10 minutes-ish, and the big factor is just a Queen of Pain that does not get any help is going to get destroyed by Tinker. Especially if a Rubik, just a single Rubik that rotates, is going to kill Queen of Pain.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the rare scenarios where you have a Rubik who is poor, very, very poor on damage. Level 1, level 2, hardly does anything. It just brings a solid disable to the table. But Tinker brings so much damage that, you could potentially get the kill on the Quap with just one disable. So this could be a potential thing that Leviathan are looking at in order to upset the laning phase in middle. Now, Blake is going to be taking over that Sand King, so we do have guaranteed offlane Spirit Breaker. There was a chance that maybe they would change things up and have Spirit Breaker just pick up his level 2 somewhere and roam around, and you could have an offlane Sand King, but that would be a very odd scenario. So, fight over the first minute rune here. They're going to make Shredder and Nusham force back Korok in order to get that bounty rune, the early bottle, going the way of Nusham and Clockwork. Actually, Jenkins managed to get the rune, but oh no, he's in trouble. Ush is actually going to chase him down. Jenkins unable to get the space for Cogs. He's trying to loop it around a little bit, but will not be able to find that space. The bounty is picked up by Jenkins, but first blood by Ush. Not really worth it.
Yeah, not really worth it indeed. Giving a first blood here to the Gyrocopter it hurts. It just hurts.
Oh man, look at that. Shibby already, getting up in Korok's face and utilizing that laser miss percentage to his advantage. I mean, a lot of the damage from Queen of Pain, a lot more of it is physical, right? In the first few levels where you're more dependent on Shadow Strike, right? It's the damage over time from Shadow Strike is fine, but it's the slow and all the right-click damage that you get in that means a lot. So Laser just means you probably come out on top in that matchup every single time.
Laser essentially got also a bit better, just because you have a longer miss chance now. I think it goes from 3 seconds up to 5 or 6 seconds.
It's 4.5 seconds at level 4.
Oh, sorry. So
oh, no! He lost vision! Shibby somehow lost vision there uphill, and the missile missed. And Korok has managed to get away. Now he's going to be forced to blow a potion there and only get about 100 HP out of it. A big loss there for Shibby, who would have loved that first blood gold to get his bottle.
It unfortunately wouldn't have been first blood, but yes, he would have gotten that kill.
True.
I do agree with you there. Very unfortunate. If you get that kill, you have your level 3, Queen of Pain can't. It's going to be very, very, very hard for you to show up on the lane. He goes for that Laser Rocket build, and as I said, when you... I'm not entirely sure, of course, you don't have to level it up that early, right?
Yeah.
Most Tinkers go for a 2-2 build, but... a very important de-warding there.
Yeah, the ward he just killed, that was up in time for the... How did he not have vision? The ward should have given vision, right? I'm not crazy, right? The rocket completely missed.
It wasn't a safe hit. It just moved.
Okay, maybe he just barely out. Ooh, MSS going on to Shibby here, but a quick response from both the supports of Leviathan. Nushim coming in and getting much needed heals over to Shibby, who was about to kind of lose his lane just because the Quap brought himself the potion and had the extra regen where the Tinker was completely out of that. So MSS unable to utilize the haste rune to much good, but just force rotations, I suppose, from the Wisp.
Wisp, you should just try to heal him up and then leave the lane. He can't take experience at this point. It's very important in this matchup that Tinker stays ahead in experience. And right now it is even. I'm going to be very excited about how the laning goes in terms of skill build, because I would really like to see that kind of skill build where you go Laser Rocket. It's just so scary for Queen of Pain.
He gets 2 levels, so you can potentially go back for the March of the Machines 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? Do you still really advocate the maxed out damage build, even if you have a Wisp who's potentially stacking up for your Tinker?
Do we see the stacking happening right now?
I don't think I think he's maybe stacked. Yeah, he stacked that hard camp once, but that's about it. Yeah, that's all that's happened. If he was stacking though, would you still advocate for the Laser Rocket build?
If you're stacking, obviously, and you have that plan of you stack early on for Tinker, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would obviously not go for it, right?
Okay.
I would max out the March. I just think if you get the Laser Rocket build and you're winning a lane, think about it, you could have had that kill, right? If you get that kill, you can snowball so hard. And essentially, you have a Clockwork on offlane that provides so much pressure, right? if you provide this pressure and you're losing a mid lane, you have to shift towards the other lane and help out. And I think it's very scary for the side of NAR if that would have happened.
Nice little regen picked up for Nushim. That's going to help out quite a bit. Looked like a little bit of miscommunication between the two. I almost felt like Nushim wanted the Clockwork to go for the support kill with the extra movement speed, right? Catch up to him, better sell cogs. But Jenkins is very much that, no, we got to get that rune. Just felt like a slight bit of miscommunication there. But Nushim, thanks to that regeneration rune, will be able to heal Shibi up to full. And obviously going to be very happy with that as he can now spam out lasers once again.
I believe he's gonna get his first point in March now. He stays with a 2-2, and yes, he does so indeed. Okay. So it's gonna be a March build, and then just leaving the laser rocket level 2. Mm-hmm. It is still pretty good harassment.
Ooh, Shredder almost dying to MSS there as he charges in, but unable to get the damage out. I can only assume that happens with a bash. I mean, how do you manage to almost bring down Sven, who is pretty tanky to physical damage? I mean, he starts out with a good amount of armor.
MSS seems to use this space that he gets just by the rotation of the supports. He seems to just create so much space, and you force out a Sven, he reduces farm. It just does so much for the entire early game, right? Mm-hmm. And like I was mentioning earlier, Sven does not have this great game where you have the space, or you can use the relocate of the Wisp, where he's still very far off, right? It essentially gets more of a not as great pickup with a Wisp in combination.
Right. So it's 1-0 right now. Still no second kill after the Jenkins fed away that first blood. We did see earlier that Bleak is having a good time in his jungle, farming up his stacks for himself. Level 4, almost level 5. He's got 700 gold, so pretty much a little bit off the mark for a 9-minute Blink Dagger, but probably looking at 11, 12-minute Blink Dagger. And that's going to be huge for shutting down the Tinker, right? It's always scary to play a Tinker against any sort of Blink instant initiator.
Definitely, and to me, I feel like there should be some sort of rotation, either towards top lane where you stop a Spirit Breaker. Spirit Breaker has got too much farm again, and you have to be the person. You have to be the team that create space. They don't have boots yet on the Rubik support. They don't, but it doesn't matter too much on a Clockwork lane. They get some experience. You can get a kill on a Witch Doctor. It's not too hard to get these kills, and essentially you just have to make something happen. Same with the Queen of Pain Queen of Pain mid lane. You can kill this hero. It's not impossible.
Mm-hmm. Nice setup there. The wards being placed just moments ago by the Leviathan members managed to spy out the rotation from Bleak to place a similar middle ward. So they pinged that one out. Probably going to be countered here as soon as they've got the gold. Flying Zebra does have it, but he has no boots right now. See the counter wards already being picked up on the courier. So they are definitely putting, and this seems to be very much a Leviathan thing, they're putting a lot of pressure on making sure their cores get farm, but this is where North American rejects usually get ahead in the early laning phase. Their supports usually have way more net worth than Leviathans, and it seems like that's going to happen again with the Sand King being able to AFK farm so much.
I just think the Tinker gets so much help, yet he's still 600 gold now behind the Queen of Pain. Mm-hmm. It's a matchup I feel like that he should be winning if he plays it correctly, and at the same time he's not winning that matchup, and they put so much emphasis on helping him out, right? Where it just gets very scary because you have a Spirit Breaker level 6 now who can kill both supports, and as well as just charge middle and you kill a Tinker.
Yeah, it really is a shame that somehow Shibi didn't manage to get that rocket to get the first blood. Otherwise, we could be talking about a completely different game here. But as it is, it seems like North American rejects are essentially winning every lane, right? We're putting so much pressure on middle, but we're not winning with the Tinker. Top lane is then completely freed up. MSS is now level 6 and hasn't even attempted to make his first rotation. Probably going to look for it soon. So I'm not sure if he wants to at full half HP.
And Sand King is just freely farming his dagger.
Rotation around.
Mid lane.
Yeah, Korok with the invisibility is actually going to sneak behind this tier 1 tower. They've got him easily. Shibi dead to rots here. MSS just secures the last hit with the completed charge. Jenkins makes his way in, but he's got no hook shot. The big difference between those two offlaners is just this minute or 2 minute window where you have the offlaner of Spirit Breaker able to be potentially super effective with the ultimate up, but Jenkins can't really respond without his hook shot.
Yeah, he just, I mean, he TP'd it now, he's gonna get that free experience, right? But at the same time, bottom lane is pressured now. And you have no one there. I just feel like the rotation of Leviathan here is just not there. You have a Sand King on the side of NAR that is just farming. He hasn't done anything this game. He's just farming.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see a dagger around 10 minutes now.
Some more stacks to clear through. Korok, he's got himself a bit of stats. There's the stacking that Nushim was doing for Shibi. So this isn't going to get us anywhere close to the boots of travel, but it is a start, I suppose. Jenkins heading back to that bottom lane is going to try and get his level 6. The rest of the team, well, Leviathan just playing kind of passive game, which is working out to North American Reject's advantage, as we've said a couple of times now.
And the thing is, the game has not even begun to be difficult.
Right.
On this side of NAR, you just wait for that Sand King dagger, and then he's just gonna set up ganks left and right, left and right.
Yeah.
Whereas Spirit Breaker right now, he's having a great time. He's getting his levels. He's not having the hardest game at all. He finishes his power threats. In comparison to the Clockwork, he essentially has a lot of farm.
Oh, nice pushback. He's actually going to go on to these supports. Telekinesis does intercept, but Korok beautifully set up to be able to hit the screen, the right clicks, and they will easily clean up both of these supports, as the core is unable to do anything about that. It's not like the Tinker could rotate. No way, no how, and this Sven is just too far away. In fact, if anything, Shredder may be in some trouble here, as he's going to be charged up by MSS. Korok, quick to be able to catch up with a haste rune, slows down Shredder. Turnaround stun onto MSS means they will not be able to pursue. 4-0 now to the favor of North American Rejects.
Questionable play there by the Clockwork. I feel like...
Oh, we got him! MSS locked in. They're going to push him back with the cogs. This means he doesn't know we actually wandered up. Can he actually charge away? Push back, and there it is. MSS gets out. The nice idea there, utilizing the cogs to burn the rest of his mana. Kind of a good read, but unfortunately not the full read, which was the Magic Wand coming into play to give him the charge.
The problem there was that if Clockwork would have actually used his battery, he would not have gone through with the cast.
Yeah.
He would have been able to kill him there, but he chose to rocket before, and then he didn't have enough mana for the battery at that point. But if he would have just batteried, the Spirit Breaker wouldn't have had a chance to get out there.
Yeah, if you just lock him inside, charge going to be interrupted. So, Witch Doctor's getting some little bit of free farm here in this bottom lane. See the maxed out Maledict build, 2-0-3. Kind of goes to show, like, when you're feeling an off laner, especially someone like Clockwork, you just solo zone him out, right? This is exactly what we were talking about and how to shut down a Clockwork in the early game. In that they just kept the Witch Doctor fully committed to keeping him out. And when Jenkins went for cog blocking, he did the pulling as you suggested. And the Witch Doctor also does his maxed out offensive build, which, he doesn't need Voodoo Restoration, really. I mean, he doesn't have any cores to really keep alive. They're feeling no pressure. And the Maledict just ensures that the Clockwork's going to be super scared of contesting that support hero.
Yeah, that's very true. And once you get the curse down, you essentially can't fight.
Yeah.
And you can do that over and over. The one thing obviously you can do is try to... You burn his mana, so you can't do that, because the curse actually costs quite a lot of mana.
True.
But yes, you're right. That's a dual lane. It's a very effective dual lane that can keep a Clockwork from getting levels.
Ooh, jump in. They are managing to snag the Witch Doctor. Still, though, I mean, that is kind of the peril of having one of your supports free farm a safe lane like that. Shredder actually stuns up MSS. MSS looking to get the ultimate. He does secure a clock, though, was backing up. The jump in, the relocate from Nushim will make sure that Shredder stays alive. Probably good read there by Korok, seeing that relocate coming, saying, it's not a fight I want to take.
I asked that question myself, did they increase the range of the ultimate?
Yeah, that was a really large ultimate.
It felt like 2K range.
Yeah.
For me. I mean, usually, obviously, if you get the cast off, but the cast did not happen until quite far. So
yeah.
I was like, that should have not happened there.
Yeah. Basically, it starts out at 700 range, but by the time you complete, they've gone another 300 or 400 distance. So it feels really long, but that one was exceptionally large. Shibi doing the full-time jungle, 1,700 gold to the boots of travel are coming close, but bots 14, 15 minutes in, not ideal timing.
It's not a very great time indeed.
No.
You got the soul ring, so that's something, but usually a good timing for Tinker 14 minutes is you, on top of having boots of travel, you have a dagger as well. It's very good timing. If you manage to get around 15-16 minutes, that's still pretty good. But yeah, obviously you would want to opt for like 10 minutes BOT so you don't get a soul ring. Other than that, when you get the soul ring around 11 minutes, you want to have your boots of travel. I guess a good part with a Tinker now is that he can take that the rock stack, right? So
yeah, that's true.
Good.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so Ush pushed away, but they do still get the bounty rune for our Queen of Pain. Now, she's actually almost has that level 2 ultimate, working towards the Orchid. She's going to be a serious powerhouse, and they have the important thing, right, between last game and this game. Queen of Pain has a solid melee initiator in order to create basically the ultimate setup of Sonic Wave and all your abilities, right? She's not going to be the main initiator. She's got both the Sand King with the Blink Dagger and MSS to work off of.
Very true. The initiation here for Queen of Pain, or rather get a solid ultimate off, is fairly easy. You have a Sand King that sets everything up. To me, Sand King is just one of those heroes. I feel like picking that hero is never bad. I just think he offers you so much, and as well as you can put him on the offlane if you really wanted to, but as a support, if you don't count him in the jungle, which is like the scariest phase, right?
Oh, Shibi actually goes down. Excellent read by Korok. That was just beautiful. You saw him kind of like setting up, and I was like, ooh, is he actually going to make that jump? What I loved about it, he didn't make the jump until after he saw the soul ring. That little bit of extra loss of HP was exactly what he needed to get the kill.
Yeah, I was like, is this going to be enough when he uses the Sonic Wave there? But he calculated that well, and it worked out for him.
Yeah, this is why Korok is very much feared in the American region. He's got the plays, man. He definitely made that read. 6-1 right now, 15.5 minutes in. North American Rejects, a dominating start here to game number 2. Now, they had a dominating start for game number 1 as well, but oh dear, Shibi going to be caught here. The call down does manage to catch him, but the more important thing is Bleak is waiting on the side to be able to get that burrow strike, and this is what the biggest fear is. As a Tinker, you're facing up against a Blink initiator very early on to the game. You don't even have your counter Blink, so you can't even like TP in and instant Blink out, which is usually a way to stay ahead of those kind of Blink initiations. You don't have that, so every single time the Boots of Travel TP completes, you're completely open for Sand King to jump you.
I think it was a great read by the Sand King there. He knew the lane was going to be pushed and the Tinker potentially TP is there, and he saw the TP coming from the Tinker, and obviously Gyrocopter was ready to go for that kill as well. This is just setting them back more and more, and Tinker at this point is just too fragile. He needs another items, he needs anything out. Going for this dagger is it's so crucial, but at the same time, even if you have a dagger, how do you defend anything? Like, you have the march, sure, but it's still very, very dangerous to take these tower defenses.
And there's another Blink initiator. The Queen of Pain, of course, can always potentially blow up the Tinker, but now with the solid disable of the Orchid, not only adding in silence, but also extra damage, means Queen of Pain is going to be feeling pretty confident about jumping into this Tinker. At this point, what do you do to make it so Tinker, is it baiting out the Tinker and trying to punish people who jump him, or what do you do? Because you got to get something. Oh, Korok actually almost locked in long enough, but unfortunately they needed that relocate a good 2 seconds sooner. As soon as that telekinesis went out, they needed to throw out the relocate at the same time, otherwise they never would have had the solid disables to get him.
That is just such a...
Oh, they're actually set up a trap there. Nusham immediately going to be taken out there. Witch Doctor just so good versus the Wisp. In fact, Korok is going to jump in. Physical damage. Oh, nice turnaround, but the haste rune keeps Korok just a step ahead. Gets zapped out by Flying Zebra, but she did the damage necessary to perhaps kill Shredder. But MSS in trouble. The laser goes down. Shredder backing himself up. The cast bounce around, and there's Bleak coming in through the side. Manages to get the burrow strike to finish him off. North American Rejects playing very well in their teamwork, man. That was a good read by them. Just giving up on the kill, saying, hey, Bleak, you can take it. We'll get MSS out of danger here. All around, really great jump as a whole by North American Rejects.
It's just the way this whole thing started, right? You have another charge going top lane.
Yeah, he's going for Shibi here. MSS right in the middle of this one. Oh, dear. The March of the Machines, too much for him to handle. The right clicks will do the trick eventually. Nusham or catch him. Ah, there it is. Tinker does manage to get it. pretty important that the Tinker gets that kill, I feel. MSS.
Very
little bit of feed.
questionable play there. If you see that the Witch Doctor, who is now running back into base, he was almost going to die from that march as well. And it just feels like they're a bit too overconfident at this point.
Yeah.
They see the win in front of them, but you just have to like play it straight. Like, don't make these misplays. And that was one of them for sure.
Got to calm down a little bit. 9-3 to the favor of North American Rejects still. We just saw, Jenkins thinking about it. Taking a lot of sandstorm damage while he's thinking about it, but does the reveal, now jumps onto Bleak. Does he have enough damage? The answer is no.
Oh,
no, not at all. What's the better play there? Do you hold on to hookshot? Do you just jump in and dust and cog him and stuff and wait for him to burrow strike and then hookshot?
I mean, to me, the obvious play that if you attempt this kill, which is very, very dangerous, just because you stay in the front of a tier 2 tower / tier 1 tower, those towers are still there, right? And you go for this play, you can't initiate with a hookshot. It's not possible. You have to go with a battery and force him to stun, right? You have to deal damage to him, but battery will do the trick there. But you have to wait out your hookshot and then you hook afterwards. If Sand King jumps right, if Sand King stuns correct, I would have stunned the other way, and then you force a death on the Sand King for sure. Top lane now.
Yeah, Bleak is setting up. Here comes the epicenter, going straight for Newsham and gets the double burrow strike. Shredder gonna be blown up. What a beautiful bait out there from North American Rejects. Bleak read that like a book. He had that whole entire setup. Flying Zebra managed to get the telekinesis, but will quickly be blown up by Gyrocopter Ush, making his grand explosive entrance there into the lane. 12-3 now to North American Rejects.
It's going to be a very, very difficult game to come back here. I mean, obviously you still have a Tinker. Tinker is always one of those. You can turtle your way.
Oh, Jenkins actually going to make a jump here. Can he get this Witch Doctor? Does have the dust in hand, so the answer is quite unrefutable, yes, but he'll also be going down in return, so himself for a support. I mean, Jenkins is under farm, but you can't afford to be trading yourself for support kills for the whole game.
True. I look at this Tinker pick, and I'm just such a fan of the hero that I wish he would have worked in this game, so you see more teams picking up the hero, because I feel like he's just underused. He could be played a lot more times, and I think he actually has certain changes within the patch that work for him. I think that like the Agam Scepter, where I was completely against it before, because I just thought, like 4 rockets, like what does it do honestly in a team fight, right? Yeah. But given the fact that you have the jumping of the laser, and if you manage to get vision somehow, whereas a bounty hunter, for example, would be a good hero, the amount of damage you can deal with this hero, where you have 4 rockets plus laser, it's essentially like 700 damage on the entire team, or people close to the laser, right? And I don't know, I just think he could be played more, and I wish to see him a bit more. I'm just a fan of this hero, and it's just sad that he doesn't get his full effect in this game.
Yeah. It's one of those games where it's like the Spirit Breaker, you saw like Spirit Breaker picked up by Leviathan and it was pretty ineffective. We both felt that. This game, Spirit Breaker's super effective, right? Even with the Tinker now having the Blink Dagger, if he gets potentially charged up and like Spirit Breaker just keeps going, right? He's charging, Shibi's back in the base, and then TP's out to one of the lanes and does the instant blink, goes into the trees, you still got vision, so they can make the jump, say, with Korok or the Sand King or anybody, or maybe even the Spirit Breaker completes his charge and is able to catch the Tinker before he completes his TP out. There's so many different plays that North American Rejects have at their disposal to be able to catch the Tinker. You got to play amazingly well to stay ahead of these ganks. I mean, I'm talking some supernatural game sense.
And I guess that's one of those questions, right? You face a Spirit Breaker, and the Spirit Breaker was picked before the Tinker. It's kind of a counter to Wisp just because you get that vision, right?
Yeah.
Then you just pick another hero that was, I would say, if one of the heroes that is a good counter to Tinker would be a Spirit Breaker to me, just because you get the vision and you don't know what's coming, right? And if you keep track on him where he blinks, you can see what happens. It's just very dangerous to pick it.
Shredder at least is getting a good amount of farm through these stacks, but both him and Tinker are still dramatically behind the Queen of Pain and Gyrocopter when it comes to farm. 8,000 compared to the almost 12,000 on Quap, and 13,000 now being hit by the Gyrocopter, who now has a BKB, so potentially he's ready to fight. SNY, BKB, Helma Dominator, you're not killing this Gyrocopter. He's no longer the squishy agility hero you thought he was.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to either see some sort of tower pushing now or even a Roche attempt, and then you go into that tower push, which they've just shown in the game before, where Gyrocopter just stood in front of the team with the Aegis, and he just pushes down the wave. Of course, they could wait a bit longer, right? But it would be the right play, I think.
Now, I love the Veil of Discord pickup on the Sand King. It's in my opinion much better. It's much cheaper and much better than the Aghanim Scepter. Aghanim does have a reduction in cooldown, which is super nice. But when it comes to just raw damage output, Veil is not only better, but it's way cheaper. I love this pickup, but we also see a lot, especially at 6.84, a lot of other utility items that are available for both the offlaners and supports to pick up. Do you still agree with Veil being picked up by the Sand King, or do you think maybe going for one of those other maybe newer or just utility item pickups?
I usually prefer a different kind of set of items on the Sand King. I prefer Trance in combination with an Eel Scepter after the dagger, just because
Eel Scepter, okay.
I just think it's the right setup. It's also good against the against the Sven stun. It's pretty good against hookshot or a disable on the Tinker, right?
Sure.
To me, it just gives you this extra utility. Plus, when you go the Tranquil route, you would have enough mana pool. And I prefer that kind of route. I just feel a bit safer going for the Eel Scepter. But there's so many ways of building the hero. I think a Veil, the difficulty I see with a Veil personally is that you know how you shift up your dagger, right? You shift ulti, and then you need to shift the Veil on top of that to get an effective Veil. And often the downside to that item is just when you use Veil, you need to be very close. I think the cast range of Veil is my issue with that item. You spend 2.6k gold on the item, I think, somewhere there, and it's just the cast range of Veil is just not great enough to me.
Yeah, I was thinking Force Staff personally is my utility item for Sand King. I think that's what he's going next, or maybe he's going for your Yule Scepter with the staff. We'll see. Shibi, I mean, he really just can't show his face very much in lane. He makes the blink away, TP out, just barely ahead of MSS, but MSS is very rapidly getting to, and he's got a Shadow Blade too, right? So you don't even see this charge coming in as he bumps Shredder a little bit. Does get stunned up. Can they actually kill him with the ultimate damage? Yep, Shredder. You cannot disrespect God's strength.
I would actually like to see a Wisp TP towards the mid tower there, and just use that God strength. It would maybe be a bit greedy, but...
Oh, okay, so we use God's strength. What more can we get for it, right?
Kind of. I mean, it's obviously it's a risky play, but I was just thinking that try to get something out of it. You're in an advantage where it's a 4v5, so most likely they don't stick too close to the mid tower as well. And I feel like their instant burst, I guess you have a Queen of Pain. Yeah. It's a risky play for sure.
Now, some of this is mindset, but a little bit comes down to draft and just what kind of game it is. In this situation, if you're a Leviathan, which is better? Taking the risky plays and doing something like that, or just generally, very risky plays and that can potentially get you small advantages, or do you just play it really defensively and very conservatively, just hoping that North American rejects make that mistake?
I think Leviathan, to me, just has to stack up Ancients, which they're doing.
Yep.
Get that farm with Sven, and then you just hope to get into late game.
Okay.
To me, Tinker is still one of the best late gamers. He clearly is. I don't think he got particular buffs with Octarine Core, for example. I was thinking about the item, but it doesn't make too much sense. Just because I just think a Bloodstone is better on the hero.
Sure.
But other than that, once you manage to get a Hex, right, you're actually in a comfortable position. If you can Hex up the Gyrocopter and a Sven jumps with a BKB plus dagger, you have no issue. But I think Sven does not have the dagger, right? I do not think he goes for that dagger.
No, he would straight Mask Command into the BKB.
And it might be difficult. Bottom lane?
Shredder is trying to go here. They do have the ultimate goes out. Of course, Gyrocopter easily able to zone those two heroes thanks to that one. Nice Glimmer Cape pickup, though, from the West. That's obviously going to be hugely impactful, particularly since Newsham's such close quarters in these fights. Oftentimes, that Glimmer Cape is going to be necessary for him to use on himself while the Sven has his magic immunity available.
I think the play right now should be that Sven, he needs more damage for sure.
Right.
You go crit route, I generally think Sen is one of those heroes you just go all in with. You get a dagger, you get a crit, and then you just hope for the best. Get some crits, and you can instantly blow someone up for sure. I'm very surprised that neither of the team goes for a Roche play here. I think they could smoke up and get the Roche. Sven can just get it with the ultimate. It's not too dangerous, especially if you see a Queen of Pain split pushing on the top lane.
A little bit of medallion action, stacking up that ancient stack for the gyrocopter, who's going to be able to farm it up to get his butterfly. And at that point, already, he's got the movement speed with the S and Y and the magic immunity of the BKB to kind of stay just ahead of the Sven in some regards. Like, he'll still take a good amount of damage. The movement speed from the Wisp, obviously, a big factor, but like, he can just survive a bit. But now with the butterfly, he can actually potentially man fight up against that Sven when it comes down to it because of the evasion chance.
Yeah, I think the evasion is going to be a big problem here for Sven. Sven is just, it just matters. Each hit you get out, it just matters so much.
The first reveal, the Blink Dagger's coming. Shredder pops the ultimate preemptively. There's the stun and a quick kill on the Queen of Pain. You couldn't really ask for a better pick-off with the reveal of the Blink Dagger than a Queen of Pain. Maybe a gyrocopter, but that's probably...
And this is very, very important. I felt that the Blink Dagger is just a must here. If you want to kill someone, you need to have a Blink on Sven. I often try to opt to work around the Blink Dagger a lot. I just felt like it never worked. Sven to me needs a Blink Dagger, and that's why he's one of those heroes that doesn't... Like, you don't seem to see him too often, because the big issue with him is he misses one item slot. And look at the hero, you need a BKB, you need a dagger, and in most cases you need a Mask of Madness, else your damage is not, like, it doesn't come fast enough, right? So once you have these items, that's 3 items already. On top of power threats, 4 items, then you have 2 slots to deal damage, right? You have a crit, most likely you get crit. In this scenario, I would actually not get a crit anymore, because you see the butterfly on the gyrocopter. You have to go for an MKB if you want to still deal reliable damage.
Yeah.
There's going to be a potential hex at one point on the Tinker, but I don't think... Oh, he actually has the hex.
Yeah, he actually just picked it up. He TP'd into that middle lane, took a side trip to the secret shop. So.
This is actually very scary for NAR, and I'm not entirely sure if it was the right call to wait that long to make something happen. Now, to me, it could go either way.
Oh, Jenkins. Oh, what? Makes a jump past. Oh, dear. Now the charge is going to be able to come in with the epicenter on top. Oh, Shredder may be able to survive through this, but his teammates will not. And with the Witch Doctor ultimate, that physical damage dealing him enough to knock him out. Shibi tries to get away. In fact, is successful. But they just lost a Spirit Breaker and gained a kill on Leviathan. 4. Well worth it for North American Rejects. What a blunder there from Jenkins with that hook shot.
I don't actually think it. To me, it did not matter too much whether or not he hit that hook shot. I think that the big issue here was just because the Tinker could not follow up. Think about it. You get the hook shot in.
Yep.
Sure, it missed, right? But he still got stunned. If they would follow up with a hex into that initiation of the hookshot, you can take down the gyrocopter instantly.
Yeah.
If you have a hex, he loses his evasion. Sven just cleaves him 3-4 times. Obviously, there was a great charge by MSS. It was very important that he gets that charge initiation off and disrupt the fight, right? But if you had the hex and you could follow up, kill the gyrocopter, this could have been a complete stomp here.
Yeah.
On the side of Leviathan.
Tier 2 tower being threatened. Jenkins coming forward. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that fight could have been so different. They got the stun, but I feel like if he had hit the hook shot, he could have done the cogs backwards, right? And that extra bit of disable and just distance, right? The gyrocopter being pushed closer to the Tinker at that point.
No, very right. It was a good position to, if you would have hit the hookshot, right?
Yeah.
And you would do the play like you were mentioning, right? You walk past him, then you block the entire team off as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that would be a great play, but I just think it matters still a lot that you get that hex follow up. If you get the hex follow up, you have an ensured kill, most likely. You have to deal with Spirit Breaker for sure, but you know everyone else is kind of blocked off. And in the end, that's the crucial factor to these kind of team fights. I was gonna mention that it can go either way, and to me still it can go either way. Like 1900 HP on a gyrocopter it's not that much.
Yeah. They just really need that MKB. I feel like Satanic now being picked up. So now your 1900 HP has turned into 2300 with the almost second life mechanic of a gyrocopter with that Satanic. They don't really have any major disables to be able to go through BKB, so if he gets out BKB, he can pop Satanic. Like, hookshot's the only thing that momentarily stuns you up, and that doesn't really matter, so they have to get the initiation on gyrocopter. Like,
at this point,
no questions about it.
It really just comes down to team play or individual player in terms of heroes. If you have a very comfortable Tinker player, he can still run that fight. You have to watch out a lot for the Spirit Break initiation or the Sand King initiation if you're Tinker, but other than that, you can win these fights. With great positioning, you can still zone, and right now they're not, I wouldn't say they're too pressured in terms of making something happen. They can just push out these lanes, but as you can see, the Queen of Pain has an insane amount of farm as well.
Yeah, she's beginning to go for the old right-click build on the Quap with the Scotty now being picked up. Where do you go from here? Like, do you go like Assault Cuirass so the gyrocopter doesn't have to, sort of thing?
I think Cuirass is one choice. Shivas is also quite good. I like Shivas. I like Shivas in combination with a Refresher as well. You keep some damage, but at the same time, Refresher got somewhat.
Oh, what is this?
What just happened?
I think they spotted out the Queen of Pain because they have a counter ward on the Roshan area, and that's why they also blew the dust there, but missed it out. So, but the charge is going to come in. They actually go, and Jibby is actually trying to throw out a lot of marks. They will be able to take out the Rubik right away. Jenkins, he was silenced up, so unable to be able to provide any sort of response. Going to hookshot to intercept his support.
You just have to let it go. This is just going to turn worse and worse. Just because the Sin is out of his ultimate, there's no way of defending this Roshan. You just.
Oh, Jenkins trying to make the play! He did it! The Aegis goes to Jenkins. He's obviously going to die twice in a row, but it's like killing the gyrocopter once and making sure, you know, you take away that Aegis from him. Worth it for Jenkins alone. I'm very happy the Leviathan, no one else tried to do anything off of that. That's like, yeah, I completely agree with you. There's no way they should fight that one. That's the terrible fight to go for.
Very much agreed. It was pretty much the only play you can make there. You go for that play. It's a very ballsy play, and it worked out for them. The good part now is that they can't just comfortably pressure high ground. If Gyrocopter would have had that Aegis there, he doesn't care if he dies. He can go in, and especially for Sven, which is so momentum based, where you have to make your initiation work, and if you don't make it work, you lose that fight.
Yeah.
And with that said, Gyrocopter now is still in danger, and you face a Satanic, you face a Butterfly Satanic, but it's still not enough. To me, the hero can still die with a great Hex initiation onto him. And the follow-up on Tinker, I wonder what he's aiming for. If it is the Dagon, which I think is important here, just because he needs more damage. The team needs more damage. You don't have enough damage right now. You have a Clockwork, which gives you great disable, and other than that, there's next to Sven, it just isn't enough damage, and you need a second damage source against the Gyrocopter.
Do you agree with Sven going for the Korok, the relocate in? They're going to be able to double disable Korok enough that he's done for. Good, very good gank there from Leviathan, getting a critical pick off. How many times can they really do that, though? It seems like North American Reject are just going to learn from that and just be like, okay, we can't really solo push out anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of play, right, it shows NAR that you need to you can't split push.
Yeah.
Like, you can't split push like that. Just because if you're going with that wave and a Tinker can initiate on you, you are always in danger zone. One Hex is a kill on any target, right? Mm-hmm. And this kind of limits the amount of farm you can get, and it also showed them it's kind of a wake-up call. You need to group up and try to go for the push.
Yeah.
In the end, anything can happen in these 5-on-5s. I think NAR can pressure a bit more.
Oh, Jesus. Shibi. Bleak. Does he go for the blind burrow strike? He knows Shibi's somewhere in those trees. He doesn't go for it. Just backs himself away. I think he's hoping for a bigger epicenter blink play.
Could have been worth it maybe to take that initiation there onto the Tinker. It's like a risky play, of course. You burrow strike in, but at the same time, you're not gonna die missing your burrow strike, right?
Yeah.
If you mid initiation.
Yeah, MSS bumps Shibi, will be able to get, oh, not quite, side device goes off, and he's actually going to fall, the Witch Doctor goes down as well. MSS turns around, tries to get off the ultimate, but Flying Zebra says no way, gets a little bit of damage extra. Shredder actually comes in with the relocate there, managed to take that tier 1 tower. The blink away, blink forward. Korok is going to be hit by the stun here. Korok has a blink up, but can they do enough damage? He blinks over to the side to Ush, who throws down that call down, making sure that Shredder is slowed down, unable to catch up. He's got a blink dagger up now, but will not be able to find anybody, it seems.
And that's a Dagon. Is that a Dagon 5? Or is that a Dagon 3?
I doubt it's a Dagon 5. Yeah, Dagon 3. That would be a surprising amount of farm that Tinker has picked up in a short period of time.
I was just wondering, because he's not saving any buyback, and to me the only time I would do that is if I can get that a complete item. I don't know,
Okay.
It's just being more in a safe zone, because if you lose a fight on the side of Leviathan here, you can get pressured quite heavily.
Yeah.
Right now he does not have that buyback, so he has to watch out.
Boy, the last two fights, I mean, we had the pick off on the Queen of Pain. We just saw 2 kills in middle, plus a tier 1 tower. And this one comes back to Jenkins stealing that Aegis. I mean, you said it. They have the Aegis. They comfortably push up high ground with Ush sitting on the front. We saw it in game 1 over and over again. Ush sits in the front, takes the tier 3 tower, and you have to fight into an Aegis. But without that Aegis, they don't feel comfortable. And this is where Leviathan have the potential comeback.
But I think that the bigger question then there is, why did NAR not use the advantage? They had this entire advantage. They could have just gone for the Roche play a lot earlier. Of course, it was a great steal there by Jenkins. Nothing to add to that, but they could have for sure taken the Roche earlier. And with the towers that were down at that point, where Tinker had no items whatsoever, he didn't have a Hex. If you have a dagger on Tinker and nothing else, you're not as effective at all. And there's not going to be nearly enough damage to deal with NAR's side. And you should have just gone for an earlier Roche or pushed them. But most likely Roche, right?
Yeah.
It should be the same play that they did in game 1, where you just push high ground with a gyrocopter, having an Aegis.
This is getting difficult. I mean, if they stay grouped up in order to make sure they don't get picked off by the Scythe of Ice initiation of the Tinker, they're leaving them exposed heavily to split push, where you see both the bottom and middle lanes pushing in. Do they really want to push uphill here? Without that Aegis, I mean, this could be potentially where the game goes completely wrong for North American Rejects. Do you think you give time to the Tinker to farm up, as well as the Sven, and try and go for a... Oh, never mind, Shibi's actually going to be initiated Burrow Strike. They get the Orchid onto Shibi, but there's no follow-up just yet. Nusham comes in with the relocate, trying to help out his allies, but he's just going to be blown up. The jump in from MSS managed to secure the Tinker kill. They do have a buyback on the Tinker, as well as the Wisp. Some massive, unfortunate scenario where they left the Sven behind with that Wisp relocate in. Yeah, he's got nothing. They're going to be able to go Shibi again. This is just all over for Leviathan. One mistake. If they maybe brought the Sven in, who knows? They could have actually gone onto Ush, but this just turned so disastrous in the space of 30 seconds. They lost their Tinker twice in a row. Without the Tinker, there's no way they can fight this one, and North American Rejects just go through 2 Raxes probably. The tier 2's still up at bottom lane, and that's something for Leviathan to hold on to, but a 2 Rax advantage to the way of Na'Vi at 41.5 minutes in. Tough to come back from.
It just seems like a kind of this sloppy play where what happens is that when you're in a scenario where you're not pressured enough all the time, then you kind of you get sloppy. And Tinker there, he was way out of position.
Yeah.
You stay in front of your T3 tower where you can get jumped by Sand King, you can get initiated on by Queen of Pain, you can get initiated on by a Spirit Breaker, and that's exactly what happened. And sure, you have a buyback, but then on top of that, instead of just staying calm, letting your Sven move back, it was a bad position for sure, right? But you essentially just lost the game now.
They're going to fight it out here. Jenkins being able to stay alive thanks to Nusham. Shredder trying to chase down some heroes, does get the double stun, but they're just kiting him around. Being able to hit the Scotty, and the follow-up stun from MSS gets that kill. Flying Zebra, something similar. They buy back on Shredder. They've got 15 seconds until the Tinker's back up, but the throne's already exposed. Jenkins just trying to draw as much attention somewhere. They start going on to Ush, but Shredder doesn't have the BKB, so he's easily disabled up and will be taken out. Jenkins was saved by the relocate, but Shredder dies a second time, and with 2 cores down now, not much way to come back. Tinker comes back alive, but Nusham, oh no, he doesn't go down, but Jenkins does, and the throne explodes. Game 2 goes the way of North American Rejects. I would say, again, like, you had elements there where Leviathan, you could see a light at the end of the tunnel, but they just couldn't quite make the plays in order to... Like, game 1, I felt like they were just a bit behind in the lack of input of the Spirit Breaker. This time, it was just... You saw a potential comeback, and then that the misplay from the Tinker twice in a row, the misplay of the relocate out with the Sven scenario. I mean, that was just a terrible set of events for them.